Good morning. Oh, am I on? I don't think I'm on. Good morning. Oh, there we go. Are we good? Great. Good morning, everybody. Happy August. I don't know how did that happen. Welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Richmond, a congregation in the free faith tradition bound not by a creed but by a covenant. My name is Karen King, and I'm honored to serve on your board of directors. I'm a white woman in my mid-40s with freckles and light red hair, and I use she, her pronouns. Our church began in 1833 as a liberal Christian community. We now are a community of many faith journeys and beliefs united in a single covenant of care. We are committed to being a deliberately diverse and fully inclusive community of adults, youth, and children. Together we explore our connection to each other, to the sacred, and to all life, and we strive to bring our values alive in this community and beyond. If you are a visitor here today, we welcome you and look forward to meeting you. If you have physical accessibility needs, we recommending accessing our church from the front entrance on Bladen, where the sidewalk and doors are safe and accessible. We encourage everybody to turn in to the Sunday morning service 5 to 10 minutes early to catch the rolling announcements. This is a good way to stay informed on things that are important to our church community. A couple of announcements. It was at this church that the Richmond Pledge to End Racism was created in 2014. Since then, we have hosted many Living the Pledge workshops, and we invite you to register for the next workshop kicking off on August 22nd. If you haven't done so or you'd like to take it again, you can register at richmondpledge.org. From the Safety Committee, in the unlikely event of an emergency, please be aware of the 4 exits from the Great Hall, 2 in the back and the 2 on each side of the front on the front. If necessary, you will be directed to the nearest exit door and then to the rally point, which is in the Carolyn parking lot. Parents, if your children will be safely escorted by Flame volunteers from the lower level classroom area to the Carolyn rally point, and then you will meet them there. One last announcement from the Flame program. For the Flame volunteers in the summer, we have small groups helping out downstairs with our young ones, and I'd like to thank the Civil Conversations group, Joel Bloom, Karen Dunlap, Doug Green, and Lynn Edwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Good morning. And welcome. I am the Reverend Sherman Z. Logan, Jr., and I have the joy and privilege of serving this congregation as senior minister. It's wonderful to see so many of you here this morning, and to those who are joining us online, we are glad you're with us as well. However you come to worship today, thank you for being here, and we hope you find this place to be a place of welcome, connection, and renewal as we begin our time of worship together. So here we use visual description as an accommodation for people with low vision. So I'm a tall, brown-skinned, black man, white beard, bald head, and wearing glasses. I'm wearing a grayish plaid suit with a pewter bow tie and a white shirt and white stole. And I'm looking very good this morning. And I use he, his, him pronouns. And this morning, we're joined by worship associate Fred Sarto, our music and worship director, Jamie Kilpatrick, along with our hymn leaders, Barry Ramsey, Hyde Bain, Judith Alexander, and Joanna Walker. Helping with our audio and visual support this morning, Faye Healy and Mary Sapansky. And if you have anything you need or want to talk about, Terry with Hella, raise your hand, Terry, will be available after worship in the small conference room across from the receptionist desk. So this morning, we are having technical difficulties with the wireless mics. So I won't be able to ask you to introduce yourself and tell you where you're from. So I want to thank you all for joining us. And whether this is your first time or you've been here 101 times, we are so grateful that you're here. So now it's time to greet one another. If you're joining online, please introduce yourself in the chat. And those who are here in the Great Hall, I invite you to rise in body or spirit and greet our neighbors. Our opening words are from Nathan Ryan. Be it real or metaphor, whatever in your backpack or your briefcase or your purse that you brought into the sanctuary that is weighing you down, leave it behind. Whatever you are carrying that is keeping you distracted, caught up in shame or guilt or hopelessness, leave it behind. If you need it, it will be there when we're done. But for this hour, just let it go. Come into this place with open hearts. Come into this place with a soul that has remembered how to be tender again. Come into this place with a new hope for this world. Come into this place ready to build a world we have always been worthy of and always have dreamed of. Come and enter into the time of worship.
Good morning. I'm Fred Salto. I'm an older, balding man with a gray beard and glasses. I'm wearing a Navy sport coat with a blue shirt. For our chalice lighting this morning, it's called Space for Breath by Scott Taylor. We light this chalice to remember that it is good to make space for breath. That work is not the measure of worthiness, that filling one's life to the brim leaves no room for grace and surprise to slip in.
And please rise the body or spirit and let us sing our opening hymn, There's a River Flowing in My Soul.
Our reading for this morning is a reading adapted from Howard Thurman called Meditations of the Heart. Work and rest are one entity. We know that our bodies cannot keep going without being renewed. We must eat, we must sleep. Again and again, we change our pace so that we do not burn out or slowly wear away. Just as music cannot exist without rest, our lives cannot be sustained without moments of stillness. There is a rhythm woven into life itself, a sacred alternation between action and quiet, between labor and renewal. The quiet time gives the Spirit room to breathe. It allows us to catch up, to gather ourselves again, to reflect, to reorder our priorities, and to remember what truly matters. Therefore, we must take carefully provisions for rest, for silence, for prayer, and for renewal. When it's time to work, let us work wholeheartedly, bringing with us the wisdom that grows in moments of quietness. And when it's time to rest, let us rest wholeheartedly, trusting that renewal is itself a sacred part of our calling. Is there anybody here from the Share the Plate this morning? All right.
Good morning, friends. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me and Ojos RVA here this month and for having us as your Share the Plate. My name is Stellar. I am a white, non-binary person with short brown hair with like new specks of gray, about to enter my 5th decade of life. I am wearing black brimmed glasses, and today I'm walking with a cane, and I'm wearing is rogue-like a description? It's a forest green kind of flowing gown and brown pants. I come to you today from Ojos RVA. We are full of gratitude for being, I do have the presentation. Heroes, incredible. My phone is like kind of broken, so I was very nervous about not having that. Yes, thank you. We are Ojos RVA. You can go to the next slide. We are a community-driven collective hub founded in January of 2025, and a hub for immigrants' rights organizing here in Richmond. We have 4 primary areas in which we work. Number 1 is mutual aid, so working with immigrants affected by ICE, meeting their needs according to what they tell us that they need, and building deep connections and fostering relationships. And this also includes fundraising and event planning to raise money to meet their needs. We were originally founded as a court watch support entity, so observing and recording ICE presence and arrests in courthouses and jails. You may have heard that a courthouse bill passed the legislature this year that has affected that terrain. We were part of the organizing and bringing light to what was going on at the courthouses that helped make that happen. Thank you, yes. And at the moment, we are starting up a new grocery fund, partnering with many other local groups doing groceries already in the Richmond area, and working and arranging volunteers to provide free groceries with people, particularly whose breadwinners have been kidnapped by ICE. And finally, we put on workshops that help coordinate, knowledge from entities such like Richmond Community Legal Fund, Know Your Rights and Power of Attorney trainings. We're soon going to be putting on a guardianship workshop, so folks who are living in fear of kidnapping by ICE can work with other folks that they love and in their community to make sure that their children are taken care of. Next slide, please. So our values, I won't need to go into each of them because I have like 2 minutes, but I just wanted to briefly highlight abolition and intersectionality. I've already talked a little bit about centering the impacted communities and how we take lead and direction from them. We do not work for the reform of the carceral injustice and police systems. And intersectionality is a term coined by Kimberly Crenshaw to describe the particularly gnarly and doubled, tripled impact that Black women specifically face in this society, being both Black and women, so standing at like an intersection of many oppressions. And so we keep that in mind, and particularly we see it all the time as we're working with, non-English speaking, female, Hispanic, non-citizen folks working to bring them justice and make sure that they can still find a place in our society for them and their families and have their needs met. Next slide. These are just some quotes from some families that we've supported. I can read them out loud. Thank you all so much. May God bless you all. I was able to use the extra funds to celebrate my 6-year-old's birthday. I was sad I wouldn't be able to, but because of you all, he will be happy. Thank you for all your help. I was able to get there and back, meaning to court, safely for my appointment with the court. You all have blessed me. This is more than enough food. Now I am able to share with some of my neighbors too. So yeah, we will be here every week this month. We're here to chat with you and express our gratitude for your support. We have several active fundraisers that are going on for individuals. You can sign up for our email list and talk with friends and family that you know and have about what's going on with the mutual aid project that your church is supporting this month. Feel free to spread these opportunities to anyone you think you might be interested in supporting us. And yeah, please spread the word about other political education trainings and initiatives that you're connected with here, and thank you so much for your support this month.
We'll now take up our offering. The ushers will be passing the baskets, and different ways to give will be on the screen. Thank you for your support.
My name is Miss Jalen Brown. I am your special musician for today. Thank you. For those online and for those vision impaired, I am a short-ish, brown-skinned African-American woman with locks about down to my shoulders, and I'm wearing a very cute yellow dress. And I have a white semi-hollow body guitar. Her name is Pearl. And today I will be playing His Eyes on the Sparrow.
Our words of meditation this morning are from the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Savage. Spirit of life, both within and around us, be present to our collective yearning for renewal in this moment. Life has become super lifey these days, with demands and pressures of jobs and roles, the tugs of the heart of people and places we miss and long for, the ways that when so much is asked of us, we crumble just a little bit more each day under the weight of it all. With soul-crushing, devastating news and updates from around the world and in our own communities, the loved ones in our lives hurting and struggling, the ways that we are hurting and struggling. Spirit of life, we pause to acknowledge the many challenges of life and send love and care within and out in the world. We pause to honor and hold space for the struggles we experience in our bodies and in our spirits, and send love and care to those tender places. We pause to receive the abundant mystery and grace, the power of love that is greater than ourselves, to heal and nourish us. We call upon all the transcendent gifts of renewal to be bestowed upon us for an energizing renewal to fill us in all the ways that serve our lagging spirit when our own resilience wanes. We give thanks and gratitude for the sweetness of renewal so that it may linger in us, be amplified and multiplied towards healing and wholeness. In the name of all that is hopeful and holy, may it be so. Amen. The next reading comes from the Message Bible, the Gospel of Mark, 6th chapter, verses 30 to 32. The apostles then rendezvoused with Jesus and reported on all that they had done and taught. Jesus said, "Come off by yourself. Let's take a break and get a little rest." For there was constant coming and going. They didn't even have time to eat. So they got into the boat and went off to a remote place by themselves. I'm convinced that we live in a culture that wears exhaustion as a badge of honor. Think about our everyday conversation. Rarely does anyone ask, "How is your spirit? How is your heart? Are you finding joy these days?" Instead, we ask, "Have you been busy?" And many of us answer with a strange sense of pride. I've been slammed. I'm swamped. I'm running on fumes. And we wear our exhaustion like a medal as though being overwhelmed proves that we are important or being indispensable makes us valuable. We're mistaking exhaustion for purpose, busyness for faithfulness, overwork for love, and somewhere along the way, we began believing that if we ever stop moving, people might discover we weren't as important as we hoped. Which brings me to a difficult truth. Some of us are tired because we confuse being needed with being worthy. Let that settle for a moment. Some of us are tired because we confuse being needed with being worthy. And you know, I have. And if I'm honest, I suspect many of us here, including the ministers, have lived there. We answer one more email, volunteer for one more committee, say yes to one more request, take on one more responsibility, because somewhere deep inside, we learn to believe that if people need us, then we must matter. But there's a difference between being needed and knowing who you are. One can disappear overnight, the other can never be taken away. And that difference lies at the very heart of our faith. So this morning, I want to suggest there are two competing gospels in our world. One comes from a culture, and the one is the gospel we encounter in the life and teachings of Jesus. The first gospel said that your worth is measured by your productivity. So produce more, achieve more, stay busy, never stop, because if you stop, you fall behind. If you stop, someone else may get ahead. If you start, you might wonder who you are without all that you're doing. Now, I don't say this as an economic critique as much as I do as a spiritual one. Our culture has become remarkably effective at shaping our souls. It doesn't simply ask for our labor, it asks for our identity. It teaches us that value is measured by productivity, our busyness, and how indispensable we are. And over time, without realizing it, we begin to believe that our value rise and fall with our usefulness. And you know, friends, that's a dangerous way to live, because eventually, every one of us reach a moment when we cannot produce as much as we once did. We grow older, our health change, we lose a job, and yes, we retire. Someone else takes over the work we have always done, and if productivity has become the measure for our identity, then those transitions become spiritual crises. We begin asking, who am I if I'm no longer accomplishing? Who am I if they don't need me anymore? Who am I if I can't keep up? And those are not questions of employment, they are questions of identity. And whenever we begin believing that what we do determines who we are, the gospel offers us another way. Now, reading from the Gospel of Mark, the apostles just returned from their first ministry journey. They poured themselves out in preaching, teaching, healing, and serving. They are excited about what God has done, but they also are very weary. And while they're trying to catch their breath, the crowd keep coming. More people, more needs, more demand. The work is far from finished. Jesus never tells his disciples, come away and earn your rest. He simply says, come away and rest a while. Not because they have finished all the work wasn't finished. Not because everyone has been healed, they hadn't. Not because every need has been met. There were crowds still waiting. Mark tells us many were coming and going until they had no leisure to even eat. Does that sound familiar? There's always another person to help, another meeting to attend, another problem to solve, and another demand on our time. And yet, in the middle of those unfinished needs, Jesus says something that sounds almost radical in our culture. Come away, rest, not later, not after you answer every email, not after you solve every problem, not after you finally become enough. Come away now, because your identity is not determined on how much you accomplish, your worth is already secure. That, my friends, is not only the gospel, that's also one of the central affirmations of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Our faith reminds us that our worth isn't something we earn, it's something we already possess. That's why Jesus could say, come away and rest. Your worth existed before the email, before the committee, before your career, before accomplishing anything else. And perhaps one of the holiest things we can do is to rest long enough to remember who we are. Not human doings, but human beings. And that's where liberation begins. Now, we don't spend a lot of time in the Gospels here, but one thing I love about them is that they reveal something about Jesus we sometimes overlook. We remember his miracles, his teaching, but we forget how often Jesus simply walked away from the crowd. He left the crowds, he left the noise, and he withdrew. Now, in the Gospel of Luke chapter 5, verses 15 and 16, tells us, but now, more than ever, the word about Jesus spread abroad. Many crowds would gather to hear him and to be cured of their diseases, but he would withdraw to deserted places and pray. I love that little word, but. The crowds keep growing, but he withdrew. The needs kept multiplying, but he withdrew. Luke doesn't tell us Jesus withdrew once. The Greeks suggest that wasn't a one-time event. It was his regular practice. So think about that. If anyone could have been justified working around the clock, it was Jesus. The needs were endless. People were hurting. People were searching for hope. Yet regularly, he withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Jesus understood something we often forget. The work of love is never finished, and there will always be another need, another injustice, another demand on our time. But Jesus didn't wait until the work was finished to rest. And if we wait until all the work is finished before we rest, we'll never rest. Jesus never said, once I heal everyone, then I pray. He never said, I answer every request, then I step away. He rested where there's still work to be done. He prayed where people were still waiting. He withdrew where needs remained unmet. And that wasn't selfishness, that was wisdom. So let me confess something to you this morning. I've been a minister for over 20 years, and for the longest time, I thought being a good minister meant always being available 24/7. Always answering, always saying yes, always showing up. But the truth is, I had to learn something the hard way. Being available doesn't make me a better minister, it just makes me tired. And being tired enough eventually make me less present, less patient, less compassionate, less joyful, more cranky. Now, rest doesn't take away from ministry. Rest prepares us for ministry. That's why Jesus kept leaving, not because he didn't care, but because he cared enough to remain spiritually grounded, and he knew he could not pour from an empty cup, and neither can we. And sometimes the holiest thing we could do is to step away long enough to remember who we are before returning to what we are called to do. And that just wasn't Jesus' habit. It was rooted in the ancient Jewish practice of Sabbath. And while Sabbath isn't a central practice in Unitarian Universalism, it is an invitation to pause, to rest, and reconnect to what mattered most, and it speaks across many faith traditions. Now, when many people hear the word Sabbath, they imagine rules, things you cannot do, things you're supposed to avoid. But when I think of Sabbath, it's much more beautiful than that. Sabbath is an act of resistance. The Sabbath reminds a newly liberated people that freedom is more than the absence of chains. It's learning how to live as people who are truly free. And in the Hebrew Bible, God commanded the Israelites to keep the Sabbath after they'd been liberated from slavery in Egypt. And that timing was no accident. They have lived under Pharaoh economy, an economy built on endless production, an economy where your value depended on how many bricks you can make, where there's always been another quota to meet, another demands, and another day's work. And into that world, God spoke these radical words: stop, take a day, rest, remember who you are. And notice what God did not say. God did not say rest because you earned it. God said rest because you belong. And every Sabbath became an act of holy defiance. Every Sabbath declared that we belong to God, not Pharaoh. And today, pharaohs wear different clothes. They live in our calendars, our phones, our inboxes, and our impossible expectation. And Pharaoh whispers, you are what you accomplish. You are what you produce. You're what everyone expects you to be. And every time we choose to rest, every time we refused to let our schedule define our souls, every time we said this can wait until tomorrow, we are pushing back against that false gospel. We are declaring, I belong to my life, not my calendar. I belong to grace, not achievement. I belong to love, not endless productivity. And that is why rest is not merely self-care. Self-care asks, what do I need? Rest asks, who am I? And our faith answers with remarkable clarity. You're not what you produce. You're not your title. You're not your accomplishment. You're not your calendar. You are a beloved child of life. And nothing you can achieve can make you more loved, and nothing you fail to do to make you less so. Perhaps that's why Sabbath is so liberating, because every time we truly rest, we remember the truth that this world is constantly trying to make us forget. We don't have to earn what has already been given, and beloved, that is good news. But I can tell you why I think so many good people are tired. It's not because they're lazy, not because they don't care. It's because they care so much. They love their families, care about their works, showed up for the community, carry other people's burdens, and somewhere along the way, they begin to believe they have to carry it all. Some of us wake up every morning carrying the weight of the world. We care deeply about justice, about peace, about our neighbors, about the future. But every time we turn on the news or open our phones, there's another crisis, another injustice, another reason to grieve, and after a while, our compassion becomes exhausted, not because we start loving, but because we've been loving so hard for so long. But don't misunderstand me. The answer is not stop caring. It's to follow the rhythm Jesus knew, the rhythm of serving and resting, giving and receiving, pouring out and being filled again. Because justice work is not a sprint. Justice work is a marathon. And back when I was on my high school track team, I ran the 880, the half-mile race. And one thing that every runner's learned is this. If you run the first lap like it's the finish line, you won't have anything left for the second lap. You hit the wall, you lose your stride, you run out of breath. And there were many times I hit many walls in my track career. But beloved, some of us have hit the wall spiritually. We spend so much time trying to save everybody that we've forgotten to save ourselves. But hear me, the movement doesn't need more burned out people. The movement needs people who can stay in the race, people who still have joy, people who still have hope, people who still have enough strength to pass the baton to the next generation. Because if we're going to build a beloved community, we got to make it all the way to the finish line. And that's why I'm grateful we're not called to do this work alone. And one of the gifts of Unitarian Universalism is that we're gathered in covenant, we walk together, care for one another, and remind each other that no one has to carry the whole load alone. Sometimes covenant means standing for justice. Sometimes it means standing beside someone who needs a little help. But sometimes the covenant sounds like this. You can go home, take tomorrow off. Let me carry this for a while. And can I tell you something? Sometimes the holiest word you ever hear are not, I pray for you. Sometimes the holiest word you hear would be, sit down, I got this. So let me tell on myself for a minute. And some of you may already know where I'm going with this, because some of you might have gotten emails from me before the sun come up. Some of you might have gotten emails from me late at night. And every now and then, I have to hit that little button that says, schedule send. So instead of getting my email at 8 o'clock in the morning, you might get it at 5 a.m. or at midnight, and then you start wondering, does Reverend Sherman ever sleep? And the answer is, sometimes. But you know, God has been working on me because I've learned something. Being available all the time doesn't make me a better minister. It just makes me a tired minister. And tired people doesn't listen well. Tired people are not patient. And tired people are not nearly as compassionate as they want to be. And we're put on this earth not just to survive. We're made to live, to love, to laugh, and yes, to rest. So let me leave you with this. Some of us are tired because we confuse being needy with being worthy. But hear the good news. Your work was never something you earned. It's yours before you accomplish a single thing. Because our Unitarian Universalist faith teaches that our worth isn't measured by what we do, but who we are. And the gospel reminds us that before Jesus ever called disciples to work, he first called them beloved. And those truths are not in conflict, they belong together. Your worth has never depended on your productivity, it's always dependent on your love. And maybe, just maybe, rest is one of the ways to remember that we belong before we achieve. Rest is not laziness, rest is not weakness, rest is not giving up. Rest is remembering who we are. So what is this gospel according to rest? It is this: you're loved before you produce, you belong before you achieve, you're worthy before anyone needs you. Rest is one of the ways we remember that truth. So this week, I invite you to do one holy act of resistance. Leave something undone. Say no one time. This might be hard, but turn your phone off for an hour. Watch the sunset, take a walk, read a poem, call someone you love, take a deep breath. Do not do it because you earn it, but because you already belong, because the gospel, according to rest, reminds us that our lives are not measured by what we produce, but how deeply we love, how fully we live, and how faithfully we care for ourselves and another. May this be so. Let the church say amen.
Be still thy soul, trouble don't last always. I know you don't like change, oh, but it's time to move on. Nobody said it would be easy, and only time can make it better. So just sit down and pray, for your peace will come. Just sit down and pray, for your peace will come. Don't you know that joy comes in the morning? All you gotta do is get through the night. All I know is easier said than done. But just sit down and pray. Or just sit down, trust God and pray. Or just sit down and pray, for your peace will come. Oh, just sit down and pray, for your peace will come. Oh, your peace will come. Your peace will come. Thank you. Now, Reverend, I promise I didn't write that song just now. I wrote that song a few weeks ago. I did not think it would go with your sermon so well.
Well, it was a perfect one, that's for sure. For our chalice extinguishing this morning, we are won by Amy Zucker Morgenstern. We extinguish this flame, but the spark within us remain alight. From each of us, in our supposed solitude, the signals buzz and hum, sparkling through space one to another, connecting us invisibly but palpably. We are one, and from every window our light arises.
And please rise as I give the benediction. Go now in peace, knowing that your value is never dependent on how much you accomplish. Go with the courage to stop, the wisdom to breathe, and the grace to receive care as freely as you offered it to others. May your life bear witness that love is stronger than striving, that grace is greater than achievement, and that the beloved community is built not by exhausted people, but by people whose spirits have been renewed. So go in peace, go in love, go in joy, and remember, the holiest thing that you can do is rest, so go home and get some rest. And let us sing our closing hymn, There's More Love Somewhere.